Ryan and Eric, who would you say some of your favorite guests are that we've had on the podcast?
Ryan, I would say it was your dad, a Vietnam veteran that had intense action stories as well as touching and meaningful, content about, his life and yours.
That's true. I do have to say my dad, he has to be my favorite, but a close second would probably be COVID virologist.
Oh, that was amazing. I'd say it's a toss-up between Jason Weems, who is a comedian who died on stage and was resurrected to be on our podcast and raise his family and other things, other responsibilities. And we also had a Marine One, or like presidential helicopter pilot on the show, and that was crazy.
That's a good one. That's hard to beat. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, tune into the Baggage Podcast, where four friends, a prosecutor, a doctor, a comedian, and a journalist, interview ordinary people about their extraordinary experiences. Search for Baggage wherever you get your podcast.
On today's edition of Stories from Real Life with Melvin E. Edwards, our guest today is truly one of a kind. You might recognize him as the question mark guy, or from his unforgettable infomercials and TV appearances that showed millions of Americans how to unlock government grants and benefits. Matthew Lesko has spent over 4 decades uncovering ways for people to access funds they never knew were available, and he's sold over 4 million books in the process. Now, at 81, Matthew is still on a mission to help others through his platform, Lesko Help, where he's guiding a community of thousands toward the resources they need. Let's dive into the world of free money with the one and only Matthew Lesko. Here's your host, Melvin E. Edwards.
You are listening to Stories from Real Life, a podcast by engaging storytellers for engaged story listeners. Here's your host, author and journalist, Melvin E. Edwards.
Hello again, and welcome to this week's episode of Stories from Real Life. I'm your host, Melvin E. Edwards. Thanks for joining me on this week's learning adventure. Our guest is known as the question mark guy in those infomercials. His name is Matthew Lesko, and he joins us today. Hello, Matthew, and welcome to the podcast. How are you doing today?
Well, it comes and goes, but it's great. Yeah. No, I long as I'm above ground, it's a good day.
That sounds
I'm
nice.
81 years old, and boy, every day's a bonus.
Well, it's good to have you here. So I see that you grew up in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania.
Wow.
Went to Marquette with an MBA from American University.
Yeah.
And were you a commissioned naval officer? So how did you go from that to being the question mark guy?
I failed at everything else in between. Got out of the Navy. It was a draft back then. You're not old enough to remember, but if I didn't join the Navy, I'd be in the jungles camping. And that didn't sound delightful to me. Well, the Navy was great. Yeah, I mean, a kid out of college, and they give you a lot of responsibility. I mean, driving billion-dollar ships in the South China Sea.
Wow.
I don't know what the hell I was doing, but it was fun. Then I was a diplomatic courier in Northern Europe, with a gun and handcuffs, briefcase.
Wow.
And traveling commercial airlines, and that was fun. I mean, I got 5 good stories. Could have done it in a couple of months, but it took 3 years, 2 months, and 9 days.
How did the trademark question mark suit come about, and what does it represent?
Well, it represents me inside. It took me a long time to get there. And that's why failing is so great, because then when you're doing everything else somebody tells you to do, and the best thing that can happen is you fail. Because if you're mediocre at it, you're going to stay there. So, you probably didn't get there because it was something you're dying to do, and so you'll probably be terrific at it. So you're just playing around trying to make a living. And I think the best thing life gives you is failure. Yeah, this isn't good enough for you. You're not good at this. Get out of here. Go get something else. And when that was happening a lot, I had a software company in the 70s. I got an MBA in computers. I was a computer science professor, and everything was failing, and I wasn't having fun. I mean, that was the biggest killer to me. God, you're out there and working your butt off and doing everything everybody tells you to do. You're not having fun. You're not succeeding. Something's wrong with this picture. So what it started with was, gosh, if I'm not going to have fun and I probably won't be successful, why? This is like a backwards living. You're going to be miserable for 30 years to maybe have something. No, you got to be happy now. So that's what you have to feed yourself too. So you got to do that first and really work on how happy you can be today, because that's when you're going to start giving the most. And then when that becomes a little addictive, I think, because, ooh, I'm happy and it is successful. Maybe there's something here. Instead of just taking somebody else's ideas and thinking you could do that. No, I think you're only going to do something, that is really meaningful to you if you look inside you, not outside you. Outside you, you need to figure out where the stupid stuff you have will fit in. But you got to find out about your weird first, so you can share that. Because my theory is that whatever people call weird about you, that's probably your superpower, man. You could do that better than anybody else.
So your suit didn't come about because you wanted to be the Riddler on the Batman TV show?
I didn't even know probably that. No, I was always in information and trying to get information to top management. And I developed something after MBA school was an external management information system. And that was to get companies to monitor their external environment. At the computers at that time, they were just doing payroll and accounting and stuff like that. Nobody knew about outside their business. And that's when the oil embargo hit. And then companies, whoa, this little country that nobody knew about brought us to our knees because of the price of oil and the gas lines. You're not old enough to remember that. But
I remember that. I was a kid, but I remember it.
And so it's what companies have to know if you want to succeed in life. You have to know what's going on outside your company. See, the computers are only doing stuff inside. And that's what most companies just worried about, manufacturing and payroll and all that kind of stuff. And so I set up this external information, which really just research, and give you a report every month about what's going on with your competitors, the technology, government, how that will affect you, all these things that are going on outside, and to keep track of that so you don't get surprised. Nobody knew what I was talking about. They didn't care or think. So I said, I do research. What do you want to know? And I got into mergers and acquisitions because they want to know stuff. And so I would get information about markets and companies. I was in Washington, just a freelancer kind of thing. And I'd go to government libraries. Yeah, they're the best libraries in the world. Every big department and agency had their own library on that subject, and get all the information and studies for free because the government would pay all this money for stuff. So I'd get all this stuff from the government, and then I'd take their name off it and put my name on it and sell it to my millionaire clients for all this stuff. And it was just amazing because I had no idea about any of this stuff. I mean, when I grew up in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, as you mentioned, to me, the government was the post office, the DMV, maybe the IRS. That's about all. Boy, the power and the money. So these millionaires I was getting money for to get into businesses, or I could find out about any company in the world because they all had to file information in the government. And boy, what a treasure trove. And I got sick of helping rich people. That was my first successful business. I said, oh, the average person on the street should know about this stuff, not just the rich people. They'll pay anything for it. I was charging thousands and thousands. So I just said, hey, how do I teach the average person on the street? I can't charge them the money I was to millionaires doing this stuff. So it was books. And found an agent, or actually an agent found me because I was written up somewhere about what I was doing. He thought it was a good book idea. And okay, he got me a little advance. And I went to the government printing office. The government printing office, they still have this book called Catalog of Federal Domestic Assistance. And it has all the major government programs. There was about 1,500 of them. And I just copied them, pasted that thing, sent it up to the publisher in New York. They printed it. I went on talk shows, made a fool of myself, but sell a whole lot of books.
You mentioned the Go ahead.
It became a New York Times bestseller, and I didn't write a lick. So I tried to find that English teacher who flunked me.
And she said, "You just copied it. You just copied it."
Exactly.
So you're talking about government. I saw a photo of you with President Obama. Was he looking for a grant for free money?
No, my son worked in the White House during his administration, and so when you leave the White House, you get a goodbye handshake with you and your family, because they can't give bonuses. Not in the public sector. And I remember walking in the White House, they saw me in my suit and said, "Best suit ever in the White House." Yeah, he was really a cool dude, I thought. Yeah, he was really sweet. His photographer hated me, though. I take a lot of pictures. Walk around like this, everybody wants to take a picture. And I have my smile. Yeah, I know when the camera's going to do. So we're in front of his desk, and he's in the middle, and the family is with him, and the photographer's ready to take a picture. And I instinctively know. I took somebody. I know when they're going to do it. For someone who's ready to click, I was able to do my Lesko thing, and he looked so pissed after he took that. I mean, and he just shook his head like the nuns did in school when they're trying to control me. So, oh God, I thought, this guy would hate me for life. But what happened? So he had to take another one of me being more serious. But he had other candid pictures of me that he hung up in the White House, me and the president. And also, he had like the best 50 pictures of the year that he would have out every year, and I was one of those too. So I guess he did.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, as much as I thought. I don't think it sold any books, though.
So you'll be turning 82 in May.
Yes.
So how do you maintain your level of energy?
You're gonna come up and drink with me? I don't work. I haven't worked in 50 years. It's something you find a passion, what you do. Work to me is like going to the dentist. Something you gotta do. It shouldn't be. That's us. That's what we have to give the work. To the world. Our talents. And so, how do you find the best talent that you have to give to the world and maybe make the world a little bit better? You can't. We're not going to cure cancer or anything, but you can give. And everybody thinks like love and work and things like that. I think we all approach that most of the time with a clipboard. Am I giving enough? Am I getting better? So you keep a notes and a clipboard, and unpersonal and professional. And I don't think it should be that. You should find someone and something that you just want to go full bore no matter what. And it's not work. It's a pain in the ass, yes. And there's a struggle. Life is, and that's going to happen no matter what you do. But if you're at something or with someone that you really want to be with, you'll get through that pain in the ass stuff that's going to happen. There's no immunity. There's no vaccine. Oh, maybe the new head of HHS will have a vaccine for that.
All right, so serious question here just for a moment. So your methods have been criticized over the years as being misleading or even a scam.
Oh, yeah.
So what do you say to your critics?
Well, they are misleading. It's the truth. And then that's marketing. You don't. God. Well, everybody. You go to church and they're going to promise you to heaven. Yeah, they can't verify that. And that's what I do, the way I satisfy all that is I'll give anybody their money back. And that's the thing. You don't get in trouble. I know lawyers, you say, oh, you can't say that. You can say anything you want on the air. Nobody cares. Unless somebody's, unless you take their money. If you're saying something, you take their money and they get pissed off and you don't give them back, then they complain and the feds come after you. If you give everybody the money back, nobody can complain. So if anybody has anything wrong with it, and I mean, what they say would be usually everyone doesn't get a grant. Yes. It is complicated, and that's not right. Some are, but for most people, it's not. It's 2-3 pages fill in the blanks. And the other thing, everybody doesn't get it. That's right. And I'm just copying everything. Yes. But you find it. To me, you go to Google, and that's what happens. See, the problem to me isn't those people who say I'm a scammer. It's Google, because they're promoting this. You go to Google and find something. You find people sell my stuff or other thing. They promise you'll get it. I can't promise anybody to get the money. I just promise you the programs are real. They give out money like that. But it's like a dating site. I can't promise that people are going to go out with you. They're just there looking, though. They got to give the money to somebody. And that's all I could promise. And I just people like the bitch. And I think most of it is, I think I get that is from people who hate the government. Speaking of which, I think we just got somebody in town that's sort of acting that way. They wanted to disappear. And what's so hypocritical, they use the hell out of it. Like even Trump himself, his whole fortune was built on government programs. Musk has billions and billions and billions of dollars on government programs. And my instinct about why he's here is trying to make it easier for him to get more government programs. And I see he's also involved in, there's a great agency that he's trying to get rid of, both of them. It's called consumerfinance.gov. It's a great agency for people to fight the financial services industry, your bank, your credit card, all these. And an individual doesn't have a snowball's chance in hell of fighting these people. And they will fight for you for free. And I think there's a great source, and they want to get rid of them. Actually, they're closed down now. They closed them down for a week. Yeah. And they've only been in business about 10, 12 years, and they've gotten billions and billions of dollars back for people. But we already have things like that at your state level. There's so much redundancy in all these programs. So I'm for getting, you get a lot of this stuff you can get rid of. And nobody will probably miss it except a handful of people. But if the rich people are going to miss it, they're going to scream loud enough and won't be missed. And for the average person, God, there's so little help. And what motivates me more than anything is what has happened to our middle class in this country. There is none, is what it really boils down to. They're disappearing, and they don't know how to use the system because they're Googleized. Everybody thinks that Googleized and the capitalism is the whole big thing. No, it's not. Here's another graph. What is it? The old professor in me. The red line here is income for the bottom 90% of America. And this is from 1980 to current. So that's like almost 50 years. So the income for 80% of us grew 30% over those years. The income for the top 10%, they're doing very nicely. Thank you very much. And that's it. So that's why when you see the consumer price index, so inflation in the same time went up 300%. So if your income, the 90% of the people only went up 30%, but inflation went up 300%, that's why people can afford eggs anymore. The cost of living. That's why people are complaining about the cost of living. And Trump probably can't do much about that. But what he can do is something about the income. This is why are 90% getting a smaller piece of the pie for the last 50 years. We have more people in this country that are poor than in any other developed country. And I think we're also the fattest country in the world. but we're the poorest of all the rich countries. So we're number one in poverty rate of all the rich countries in the United States.
Some of the biggest misconceptions about government grants and financial aid.
They're complicated. They're not. They are if you want a big grant to do something or whatever. You need living expenses. You need housing. You need to start a business. Get out of debt. Things like that. Nah, they're just 2-3 pages. Fill in the blanks if that. Let me give you that list I gave you so people know what's in that list. Okay, there's 10 websites that are all free. None of them are going to charge you a penny for any of this, okay? But you go to Google and you get charged a penny because you can't find these there. They're in there, but you'll get 200 million websites of the same topic that all want your money instead of this one. Okay, first is your debt and credit. Okay, everybody has that. So you get more credit problems than anybody else. You make a free appointment with a free credit counselor where you live. There's really hundreds of them. And they get paid by the government to help you for free. So you don't know that, so you're going to Google and looking for that, and then the people promise you this stuff, and they're going to charge you money. They have to because they're paying Google. But if you go to hud.gov/counseling, put in your zip code, and then you'll see in your area, you'll have 24 at least organizations that help you for free to straighten out your credit problems, your debt, and all this kind of stuff. That's the first thing you want to do. The next one is findhelp.org. Now, this is one of the best things in the world in using that 40%. See, there's no Google for the 40% of free stuff, but this is close to it. And you could go there and put in your zip code. I don't know. Do you want to try looking at this yourself, Melvin, or not? Can you go online?
Yeah. Let's see here.
Why don't you go online? And
what's the site?
Findhelp.org. Ask for your zip code up in the left-hand corner, maybe.
Okay, I found it. So let me see if I can.
Does it tell you how many sources there are there in the middle? Did you put in your zip?
It says 2,414.
Right. So you have 2,414 organizations in your zip code that give you free money and help. You'll never find them in Google. You'll find 200 million that all want your money. And that's what I mean about the 40% of America that is there to give money and help. But we don't know. It's having a good neighbor that you don't realize is a good neighbor wants to help you. And he gets paid to do it.
That's pretty nice.
So if you go in and put in something like maybe paying rent. So put in rent up in the left-hand corner.
Okay, here we go. I don't see exactly how many, but there are 61 pages of
61. So you have 61 organizations in your zip code that help people pay their rent. See, how many people know that? I mean, people are lucky if they find one, and then if that one person doesn't help them for some reason, because they all have different requirements, and then they'll stop. Oh, yeah, I tried to do that, and they all have a story about why government grants are bad. Yeah, because they don't know how to use it. Didn't do. So you could say anything. So that's what you're doing. You can do that for anything. You want to fix up your car. You want to, actually even pay for car repair. I'm sure there's probably a couple dozen that help you repair your car. We give out grants too. I said tomorrow is the last day. On the 15th of every month, we give out $15,000 to people to help pay their car repairs. And so if you don't get one from us, and we do that every month, actually we give a total of $50,000 to $70,000 of grants to members every month. And you can go here and find other people besides us. And we're not even a nonprofit. We just give our the profit we make. I'm just shocked we can make profit at this by only charging $20. So we give it back to people because they're the ones who gave us the profit. Let's go down
Wow.
this list to make sure people know what there else is there.
Okay.
If you want to start a business, if you want to start a nonprofit, or if you're an inventor or even a freelance, you go to this website. It's called sba.gov and then /local-assistance, all in small letters. You go there again, you put in your zip code, and you'll find a dozen or 2, 3, depending on where you live, of organizations that are free, nonprofits, and they help you with your business ideas. Cradle to grave. You don't have to know how to spell entrepreneur or anything. Yep. They help you find money. They help you find anything. So don't go looking for money for anything. You look for help, because these people know the sources and things like that. You're going in and saying, you haven't done this before, and you think you know what's out there, but it's impossible to know. There's too much stuff. And the good stuff nobody knows about, so you're going to miss that. So you get people who do this all the time and ask them. So like brain surgery, you don't want to go to a doctor who hasn't done this before. The next one there is Needy Meds, NEEDYMEDS.org. That's where you can get free and low-cost medical care, dental care, mental health care, prescription drugs, money to live on while you're recovering for that, money for transportation to go see a doctor, all this cradle to grave on anything health insurance or health. Don't have to have coverage or not. It's really for non-profit coverage. People there, too, will fight your medical bills for you. I mean, that's a great service. People will show you that the hospitals are charging you and they're not supposed to. And you get all that help for free, how to get away from that. Medical debt is the biggest cause of bankruptcy in our country there. So that's help. Get to know your representative, your congressmen, senators, anything like that. You have any problems with the government, you go to this website. It's commoncause.org. You could find all your elected officials and call them. You need money for a business, call them. You want to start a nonprofit, call them. You didn't get your Social Security check in time, call them. You need help because you're going to be thrown out of something. Well, just call them. They're there. That's what they're doing. They show you how to use the government. And that is like 40% of everything, and you don't know about it. You can hire somebody to see the other side, but not on this side. Seniors, there's an 800 number. We have an area office on aging for every seniors. You call that phone number there, 800-677-1116, and find your local area office on aging. You're taking care of a senior, or you are a senior. They'll tell you about all the programs to pay for care, pay for drugs, or pay for and take your house and get it set up for as a senior to make the repairs that are necessary and things like that. Another 800 number for veterans. There's a good place to start, 888-777-4443. And this is called the Veteran Service Officers. They're in every county, and they tell you about veterans programs. And the same with seniors, those two organizations. So if you're a senior or veteran, you start there, but you don't stop. You go to all the other places too. See, because you're missing that. See, as a senior or as a veteran, you're eligible for all the other stuff. Yeah. So you don't want to miss both. And that's why I say, well, it's all for minorities or something. Yeah, there are some, but you're missing 90% of that's all you're looking for. You're also eligible for everything. Student aid, there's still tons of programs for forgiveness. Forgiveness, if you don't make a lot of money, you can't pay it. You could pay $1 a month and get your entire loan, $100,000 forgiven after maybe 10 years of paying $1 a month. Well, that's a good deal. Or if your school screwed you over or someone, they do. They lie to you to try to get you in to get a student loan to give to them, and they pretend to educate you, and you got bupkis. You get money back on that, and they tell you how to do that. And here's number 10. I like this. This is only .com in there. It's singlemotherguide.com. And it's not just for single mothers, it's for anybody. What they've done is show you all the basic programs. I mean, every state has about a half a dozen basic programs, whether it's cash assistance or grocery assistance, all those basic programs. And they add up to, in some states, get $10,000 a month. So you want to make touch bases on those to make sure that you're not missing any of them. And don't think you don't make enough or make too much money or something. I mean, if you're an old guy like me, I thought you had to be poor, but you're not anymore. This is another reason for our debt. Like, there's a program to help people get lower utility bills. This is a program. Started last year. It's going to be 10 more years. And they gave out $8 billion. And the top 25% of income, people making $100,000 to $100 million, got over 65% of all the money. Yeah. So the top 25%, these are millionaires, are getting this money. And the bottom 25% only got $1 billion. So they're getting $5-6 billion in the top 25, and the bottom 25 are getting $1 billion.
All right, so let's talk about your Lesko Help community work program. What kind of support do members receive from you?
Yeah, what it turned out to be. I thought I was just doing it as a subscription thing, so I keep feeding myself. Yeah, and it turned into more. It's turned into a community. And I didn't realize that's what's going on in our country. People want to get together with other people like them. So we now have 12,000 members that help each other get grants, not me. Yeah, people who already just got the grants. So they're live on our platform, and they show you how they did it and what it is. You ask them questions every day. We have maybe 3, 4, 5 hours. These people are live that you could tune into and ask them questions and how you do it. And that's what we do. Besides the grants, we give out $50,000 to $70,000 of grants every month. And that's I'm very proud of. I thought you had to be Jeff Bezos to do something like that. But no, selling airs. I used to sell books and products, but selling air is there's a lot more profit in it. So I'm a little embarrassed, and we give the profit back. And then you can ask 100 questions a day if you like. And we have little modules now we're building for problems in life. So a step-by-step, so you know where these programs are, and you don't get caught into Google. It's so easy because you don't know the options. That's all about knowing options in life. That's what it's like.
What's been your most memorable experience in helping someone secure funding?
Well, I mean, I get so many for some reason. Now, on the new Lesko Help, I get more than ever. I mean, I've sold millions and millions, $4 or $5 million bucks or something like that. And I don't get as many. Oh, now it just, it just comes in. A guy called the other day, hey, Lesko, you told me to call something. You have to call people. You don't go looking on the internet for an application to fill out. You go on the internet and look for people to call. Like this, remember, I remember his letter he sent me. He said, I finally got on the phone to call. He called the HUD number, and he talked to some woman there. She said he was great. She emailed him all the stuff to fill out the application. She went through the application step by step with him to get a grant for $35,000 to fix up his home. And she says, next month, we're going to have money where you can get $75,000. Wow. It's all about people. And you have to call people to see what's really there, to see if it's eligible for you. If you find a place and before you fill out anything, you call the people to see if it's worthwhile. And if it isn't, then you ask them, well, where else do you think I should go? Because they're going to know that stuff. They're in that business every day helping people. So they're the best. Don't ask me. It's usually local stuff. You saw, what would you have, 2,000-3,000 organizations right where you live. It's giving out money. So you go to your topic and start calling those people. Hey, where's money for this for me?
So how has the financial assistance landscape changed in recent years, especially since the pandemic?
Oh, since the pandemic. Well, I thought pandemic, oh boy, that was great for me because nobody knew about government grants. The pandemic came, boy, they educated people because they were throwing out money out the door like nobody's business. So that educated. So many years of my life, I had to start a conversation like, the government is more than just the post office. And so everybody knew about them spitting out money. And and so that broke that barrier somewhat. And then when I thought that would stop, because when they stopped it, that money, I thought my business would stop, but it hasn't. That sort of educated people as, hey, this is something I got to learn more about. Yeah, it's now better than ever.
All right. And final question for you today. What final piece of advice do you have for somebody who's still a little bit skeptical, but maybe needing some help? What can you tell them to get them motivated, just to see what there is out there for them?
Don't trust any idiot on a podcast. Somebody. I think to me, the advice as I get older is that trust your heart, not your brain. Your heart is smarter than your brain. We want to be smart and things like that. You want to be smart enough so you don't fall off a cliff. But to do anything, your heart has to be in it, or it's not going to get done. And to me, what has happened too is love. Like today, I told you about the party I'm having down in the lobby, the wine, chocolate, and love for Valentine's Day. Yeah, I mean, I couldn't even say the word a couple of years ago, unless I thought I had to marry you if I said it. And now I see, even the more I say it, the more my heart opens. And I feel if my heart opens, boy, that's a nice day. That's a nice experience. So that's why, listen to your heart and doing things. Get your heart involved in it. The experience will be nicer, and you'll also be motivated instead of trusting some expert to tell you what to do in life. Every expert's guessing about their own life. What gives them the right to think that they could tell anybody else what to do in life? They're all guessing. So you need love around you to help figure it out yourself. Because we're all struggling. So if you love somebody, you help them do whatever they want to do, because they're guessing. Don't call them an idiot unless they ask you. Then you have to be honest, I guess. It's an idiot to you, but you can't. We can't understand other people. The only thing we do is help them do what they want to do, because they're struggling just like we are.
All right. Well, that's a good way to end this episode today. So our guest today has been the question mark guy, Matthew Lesko. Matthew, thank you so much for joining me today. This has been a fun conversation.
My pleasure.
So if you don't already follow me on Spotify or some other podcast platform, I would appreciate it if you would do that now. And please share this episode with a friend, and we can all help each other in getting to where we need to be. So that's it for today's episode of Stories from Real Life. Join us again next time for another chance to learn from each other. Until then, don't forget to shine your light wherever you go.
That was Stories from Real Life. Join us again next week for another great storytelling journey. See you next time.